wanted to be a webcast. Hi, my name's Melissa Yoakum. I work with Dan with his AgriGold and his fertility and his program and his plan to reach this goal of 400 bushel corn. Pretty disappointed this year. We were looking at having one of our best crops, and then Mother Nature again did not cooperate. The more rain there was, the more disease there is, and so we're having stalk quality issues, standability issues. Dan probably mentioned already the tar spot, which led to increased anthracnose and stalk rot and Physoderma stalk rot, and we got corn falling all over the place every time the wind blows a little bit. So guys are really disappointed. We, like I said, we went into this fall looking forward to one of our best crops ever. That's what the government promised us, right? So high yields is what we were looking for, and we're probably off, at least 25, 30 bushel from what we were expecting. The tar spot just killed the corn early, so we just don't have the bushels that we thought we were gonna have. In this area, the more rain guys got, the more disease there is in the field. More fungal diseases, more stalk rot, more standability issues. It's kind of opposite than what it normally would be, but I mean, we're talking, there were guys that had 34 inches of rain this season, and that's just a little too much. So, started out good. We started out great, really. I mean, the spring was good, went smooth, and then it just kind of got lost in the rain, as it is now raining. So we just really need a nice sunshiny harvest to get this corn picked up off the ground and get it harvested. So, but it really is disappointing. They put so much time and money and, as they say, blood, sweat, and tears, and then they come out to the field expecting, I don't want to say higher than normal yields, but that's what they're expecting, is higher than normal yields, and they're not seeing it. So, not that it's not good, because it's still decent, but there's a lot of disappointed guys. Oh, well, guys are pretty ornery. When they're disappointed, they do express it. They are pretty ornery, so they don't like to be disappointed, especially when it comes to money. And when there's decreased yield, that means decreased money. So it's definitely an issue. In this economy, banks aren't really wanting to take a risk on agriculture. It seems guys are finding it harder and harder to get operating loans, and so less yield means less cash flow, means maybe less growers. So that's a real issue. I mean, people think that farmers are wealthy, and some are, but most are asset rich, cash flow poor, which means they have a huge investment in their equipment, in their land, in their grain bin system, their storage systems, but cash flow still depends on how many bushels they can get per acre. So it's a challenge every year just to keep it rolling, whether it's beans or corn. We talk a lot about corn, but beans are the same way. In this area, guys have parked the bean heads to the side, and they're picking corn like crazy because it's fallen down and they need to get it harvested before it gets any worse. So beans are usually the first cut. This year, corn is being harvested first. So it'll be interesting to see how the beans fare out staying in the field an extra month. But this is just the way it's got to be. So I wouldn't say we're panicking. Selling seed and being in this business, I'm kind of panicking because I think that there's an urgency of getting this corn harvested before we really have a mess. There has been years where they've had to put reels on the heads of the combine just to pick up the corn, because when it does fall on the ground like this, it's really hard for the combines to pick. What I do for a living, I sell seed, and it's an urgency for me. I feel a real urgency to get the corn out of the field before it's really ugly. The corn crop overall is actually less, on average, is less around here than what we've had in the past. And I mean probably 20%, 30% less than what we were expecting and what we thought really was out there. So going into harvest, we were very optimistic, but it's just not there. So the plants died early and then cannibalized themselves, and that's really why the winds are able to knock them down and flatten the fields. So AgriGold generally has great standability, and we haven't had a lot of issue as of yet with any of our specific hybrids completely going flat. So I won't lose business because of the product failure, but there are a few older growers that are just deciding that it's time to retire. They're not going to fight with the banks anymore. They're not going to fight trying to get money to operate, or they're just not going to fight with these markets anymore. So they're going to just take the out and retire, which this area, that means that the larger growers are generally getting larger. So there's fewer growers to call on because the growers are getting larger in size. But I probably won't lose customers because of product failure. So I love that in a roundabout way. I sell seed and fertilizer to growers all across northern Illinois. I make product recommendations based on soils and fertility. I have some loyal growers that do listen to me, and if you want to think about it, it's really product placement that makes these products excel, whether it's these high yield guys pushing specific hybrids, or if it's putting a hybrid on some challenging soil. It takes different hybrids to match up with the soil types to excel and have the most productive yield. Does Dan always listen to what I recommend? No, but a lot of times he wishes that he would have after the fact. I think that I bring a different perspective to the way growers think about their operations. Daniel, I think I bring a different perspective to Daniel's operation. I think I look at things in a different way. They look at things in a different way. So working together, we can do things different, think out of the box, however you wanna talk about it. Dan said that I have an eye for detail, and I tend to analyze things differently than what he does. I recommended to him to push the 105-day AgriGold number and to attempt to push that number to be the contest winner. Unfortunately, this year we had enough growing degree units to push 115 or 16-day corn, so this would have been our year to plant a really long season corn, and we could have got away with it, but who knew that we were going to get that much heat. We are about 400 to 500 GDUs ahead of schedule, so this corn, it's September 25th, and actually the corn probably has the maturity of the end of October. So that's another reason why it seems to be so urgent, is we're so far ahead on the heat units. So it was my idea to push the 105-day AgriGold to see what we could get it to do, but really we should have planted 117-day AgriGold to see what it could do. 2020 hindsight. I don't push population, even though I would sell a lot more seed than what I do. I don't push population because I really truly agree with David Hula when he says that population isn't the first thing to push. I really think that they need to look at their fertility and balance their fertility and look at their soils before they try and plant 40,000 population. I really think that growers need to go back and think about their soil biology and think of it as more of a science instead of a business. It is a business, but yet there's still so much science and so much biology that really these guys depend on that I'm not really sure they realize has such an effect on their yield. So I'm a big advocate of soil biology. Balancing the fertility is really important, but also improving their soil biology is really important. I've learned a lot from listening to David Hula and Kevin Matthews about the soil fertility and balancing. It's not about how much nitrogen you can throw out there or how much potassium. It's all about the balance and it's all about the soil biology. And I've learned so much from listening to those guys talk about how they have increased their yields by paying attention to their soils and their soil needs, not just throwing a bunch of NPK out there to try and reach 300 bushel without having everything balanced. It's crazy how much dry fertilizer gets thrown out up here that really doesn't need to be thrown out up here. These guys could save a lot of money, but I'm also a big advocate of the liquid starter programs, always have been. I think that using a starter system on a planter is a true benefit for guys. Whether they see it every year is a challenge, but on average, a starter system will benefit a grower. For next year, I really think that we need to focus on improving our soil biology, also our fertility, balancing the fertility. So Wyatt won the 4-H show with that rooster that you showed in your film. Yeah. He actually had champion cockerel at the fair. Yes.
What does that mean?
That means he had the champion cock.
Oh.
At the age of 12.
That's awesome. Pretty young.
I'm kidding. Yeah. I think if we could plant 117-day corn, we could compete a little better than with our 105 to 111-day corn. It seems like we're pushing the limits on the 111-day and 112-day corn, and then we're risking not having it finish out. A lot of guys, they'll plant 112-day corn up here. We just don't get the 300-400 bushel yields. So I don't know how to say it in a way that I want to kind of Randy. But
yeah. Well, he doesn't hold back. So
oh,
why
I
would you?
know. Oh my gosh, he's gotten quite mouthy. I need him to call me Tweety Bird or something. Daniel is a mathematician. He is one of those people who can do math in his head. I swear he's just an accountant in his own head. He can figure things and figure out things. He is a crazy mathematician. Daniel does know how to do math. He is very intelligent when it comes to math. He was trying to be nice and give him a little benefit by decreasing the amount of bushels he lost to David by, but it was 140. He was being empathetic. Dan always has his hands in everything. He doesn't just have someone else doing the grunt work. He constantly is the one in control of the wrench, of the shovel, of everything that fixes everything. So he's constantly doing something. I agree with Randy Dowdy when he says that we have really good soils up here in northern Illinois and throughout the Midwest. We have really high quality soils, but we also have challenging soils. And I really agree with Kevin Cobb when he noticed and mentioned that we have fertility, our nutrients are tied up in different ways than what Randy is used to with his virgin soils and with his low organic matter, low CEC soils. Our high CEC soils, our high organic matter soils tend to tie up nutrients and make them unavailable for the plant. And so we have to work with those challenges to get those nutrients to release. So Kevin Cobb really has hit the nail on the head when it comes to our challenges with fertility. We have a lot of nutrients available. It's just a matter of releasing those to the plant, and we just need to figure out how to do that. Maybe Sean will get her hot tub if Kevin can pull these yields out of the fields this year. It takes a very special woman to be the wife of a farmer. Growers tend to be disappointed and ornery, and they work really hard, long hours in the fall. So to be a wife of a farmer is, you have to have patience and so much patience to deal with the attitudes and disappointments and orneriness of your husband. I feel for all farmers' wives. I really feel for Sean Cobb. She has to deal with Kevin. I have my hands full dealing with Daniel. Dan is picking the last of the 6499 off of his drip irrigation. I think he's happy with his field average. He might not be as happy with the contest as he was last year, but he's happy with his farm average on this farm. The most difficult job in the fall is the grain cart driver. You have to be able to manipulate the tractor and the grain cart up and down hills through the waterways, but you also have to read the mind of the combine operator. You have to be able to load a truck, and you have to be able to keep up with the combine operator when he slows down and speeds up, and slows down and speeds up and turns the opposite direction of the way he was going before. So the most difficult job in the fall is the grain cart operator.
Do you ever have to drive it?
Oh, hell no. I actually, when Kim she volunteered for that job, I said, sucker, you don't do that. Slow learner. I grew up on a farm where my dad had John Deere equipment, and so I grew up driving 4020s, and I can operate a combine, but they're not as fancy as these new John Deere combines. I can operate a 7720. With Bill and Daniel and David, that is 3 generations of growers planting AgriGold. Bill planted AgriGold 62, 67. Daniel planted quite a few different numbers. Most successful probably is the 6499, and then David planted AgriGold 636, 56. For the first year, he planted that 105 days. So that was kind of cool that they had 3 generations of AgriGold growers.